Good afternoon, West Ham fans. Rush of the West Ham Network. Hope you're all safe and well. I've put a jumper on. My Budden's a bit chilly. Budden is a bit chilly. This afternoon, we did, this lunchtime, we did a piece around, the potential changes to PSR and what that could mean for West Ham. Quite an interesting article, I thought. Quite an interesting piece. If I do say so myself, go and check it out. But it is time for the world famous Hammers headlines in association with the KUMB.com boys. 3 stories to talk about, a couple of transfer rumours, ins and outs. So, warning, air horn time. We are going to be talking about transfers. Just you can switch off if you don't want to know. There we go. Thought I'd pre-warn you. Let's talk about players leaving. Obviously, one of the main players leaving, we're led to be believed, according to Fabrizio Romano, who spoke out over the weekend, saying how he's pretty much certain to go if the offer comes in, is Niclas Füllkrug. Now, slight wrinkle in the Füllkrug story, and a returning player, a returning name to West Ham transfer dealings. Tim Steidten is reportedly on the verge of landing a new job after being sacked, obviously, by West Ham, and looks set to raid his former club for his first signing in January. Obviously, Steidten was sacked ahead of the January transfer window, so just 18 months into what he stated would have been a 5-year project to transform West Ham around young, exciting talent. However, one of the big signings was a 30-something-year-old German international striker. Now, according to top sources over the last few days, it suggests that Tim Steidten could have won the race to land a new job. According to his old friend, Sky Sports Germany journalist Florian Plettenberg, he said that Steidten is a front runner to be named the new sporting director at Wolfsburg. The club currently, the German club, relieved the previous sporting director, Sebastian Schlindeis-Loers, definitely bang on with that translation, of his duties last week. And Peltenberg has said talks are underway with Steidten, while also ex-Ajax director Sven Mislintat is also a potential candidate. However, a strong sign that Steidten has got the job, or he's very close to getting the job, is the fact that Wolfsburg apparently have started talks to bring Niclas Füllkrug back to Germany as soon as the January transfer window opens. Sky Sports' Zini Boswell and Lyle Thomas reported, when was it? Friday, Saturday, that Wolfsburg are targeting a deal for Füllkrug at the same time as news emerged that Steidten is on the verge of landing a new deal as their sporting director. So that could happen. That could happen. And I think, in all honesty, I know he's been linked with the likes of AC Milan and Juventus and Real Madrid and all these other places. I think if Niclas leaves, it will be to a German side back in the Bundesliga to sort of guarantee his spot on the plane for the World Cup in 2026. A number of clubs have been interested in him, but I could see Wolfsburg being potentially the most significant if old Timmy boy takes up the reins over there, because obviously he's one of Tim's boys, isn't it? We shall see. In terms of people coming in, actually, no, that's a slight sort of striker related, something that I read an article about over the weekend, which made really interesting sense, really, is the future of Callum Wilson. Now, there could, obviously he moved to the London Stadium in the summer and he's made 9 appearances across all competitions, 2 goals in 3 Premier League starts. However, the short-term nature of his deal means that he will be able to negotiate a pre-contract agreement with a club abroad in January if he wanted to do one last move, with a move of moving there in the summer. Out of all of Nuno's striking options, Wilson looks to be the most reliable for goals, in all honesty, and that may play into West Ham's minds maybe when he comes to deciding his future. They could offer to extend Wilson's current deal, or maybe even look to sell him in January with the aim of any finances going towards bringing a new striker in. I can't see that happening, but otherwise, being that sort of 1-year deal, in theory, in January, he can sign a pre-contract. Hopefully by then we'll have this striker situation sorted, he says, and obviously the likes of, we've spoken about Josh Ajala and Josh Landers and Callum Marshall and Daniel Cummings, and there's 4 really sort of really good strikers there in sort of the pathway and in the academy going into the pathway. So just a slight wrinkle in that, really. So again, it epitomises how we need to bring in strikers, not just one, 2 potentially, because then you've got the best part of 6 months while we still have Wilson, and then he goes on his merry way next summer. And the striker, one or two of the strikers will then be able to move into that spot. Another name has re-emerged. We spoke about 𝗬𝗎𝗪𝗏 last week, and we spoke about, can't remember the other another guy we linked with, but another one we linked with in the summer was 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗥, and he is of interest to West Ham. Now, according to BBC Sport, they said that Chelsea accepted the £22 million offer from Fulham for him. Nothing, they can't be touching distance of signing him. And then it's reported that a January departure is a very realistic possibility. He's very quick, can play all across the front attack, and will hold plenty of appeal. £22 million, for a 19-year-old seems a little bit spenny, but actually, in terms of the potential that Tariq could have, I think he's just started getting into the under-21 squad as well. We know Nuno fancies, adding more pace to the squad. Could Tariq be someone who gets brought in? Obviously, Josh Zala, and as one of Josh's relatives mentioned in our video of him, he wasn't dumped by Chelsea. He left Chelsea despite being offered schoolboys a scholarship. So, could we raid Chelsea again, albeit for someone who's a little bit further down the line than Josh? Who knows? We've been linked to him before, and no doubt we'll be linked to him in January. Also, we're keeping an eye up on some youngsters. Another one which is interesting is the 17-year-old Doncaster defender, Pierre-Ewisse Nelson. Now, according to reports, West Ham are very interested in signing him and have been has invited him to a second trial spell in Claret and Blue after spending an initial week at Rush Green. The non-league starlet, Doncaster City, not Doncaster Rovers, by the way. The non-league starlet has featured mainly as a right-back, but could grow as a centre-half after being called up to the England schoolboys. We that's what I quite like with sort of the way we are handling our recruitment, particularly in the academy. We're not just relying on bringing in players at the top end ready to roll, but we're bringing in the likes of Daniel Cummings. We're bringing in the likes of, Kante. You've got people like 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗥𝗦. You've got people like Pierre as well, and it shows a good strategy because, we spoke about the other day, in terms of players who could potentially make the break into the first team in the next sort of year, 18 months or so. There's about half a dozen realistically, and there's more underneath them. If you go for the 21 squad, we've already got, as you said, Golombekis already. He made his first team squad bow at the previous home game. Game before that, Ezra Mayers was on the bench. That's 2 of them. We got Mohamedou Kante, 3. You've got Lewis Orford who's coming out on loan. That's 4. You've got Callum Marshall potentially 5. You've got Josh Ajala 6. You've got Josh Landers, who I think is probably more likely 7. Then you've got Finn Herrick, the goalkeeper, 8. Preston Fearon, 9. That's 9 players potentially in the next 18 months to 2 years who could be making, a fair number of West Ham, or could be breaking into the West Ham first team at a considerable saving. When you look at, if you're looking at Tariq George, for example, £22 million, arguably you could say that maybe someone like Josh Ajala is a similar type of player. Maybe Tariq's got a bit more strength about him, but Josh can build that up. That could save you 22 million quid. And if you did sell him eventually, that's 100% profit because it's part of, so it's the way that it does seem to be this procession. And I appreciate for a long time, we've had a wilderness of not a lot of players breaking through. The likes of, you go back, Martin Samuelson, Nathan Holland, you could Sonny Perkins, these types of players who were quite highly thought of. Mipo Debeko. These guys are really high thought of in the academy, but never really progressed into the first team. But I think generally we've got a bunch now who could make that pathway. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to check out leesandmarbrand.com for latest news, reviews, and opinions. Don't forget to check out our earlier video at lunchtime. Let us know what you think. I tried to break down the whole new PSR thing they're looking to bring in and it's to be voted on Friday at the Premier League meeting. So it could shape potentially the way the Premier League is run for the next 10 years. It's that cataclysm, it's that seismic in terms of what could happen. But anyway, take care. Latest potatoes.